Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide. Reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
should I get back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
Hello, folks. What do you say? Happy Monday. It's a big Monday, December 21. Here we go, the last few days before Christmas. Hope you had a great weekend, able to not spend all of your time shopping and wrapping presents and all that kind of stuff. And relax. Maybe watched a lot of football and maybe even got out to see Star Wars. A lot of people I know did. I didn't. But anyhow, welcome to the program here on Free Speech TV this Monday. where we, you know how we do it, tackle the big stories of the day, tell you what's going on, and then, of course, give you a chance to tell us what you think about it. You can do so by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. President Obama, after a news conference which I attended on Friday, stopping in San Bernardino to visit the families of the victims of that terrible mass shooting a couple of weeks ago now. The president went on to Hawaii, where he has settled into his vacation home for the next couple of weeks. He already has gotten in one round of golf and a hike in a nature preserve out there on Oahu, and so he's off to a good start. Congress, meanwhile, ended their session by passing a big omnibus spending bill, which, according to some Democrats I've talked to, actually has some good stuff in it for a change. More funding for the Peace Corps, more funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, more protection for the oceans, and they delayed getting rid of that, imposing that Cadillac tax, rather, on union health care plans. Good for the unions, a big win there. And Saturday night, the big debate between Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Martin O'Malley. Even on a Saturday night, almost 7 million people watched. All of that coming up here on today's edition of the Bill Press Show. Welcome, and don't forget, join the conversation. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad.
As a friend.
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket. and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley duke it out on a Saturday night. Was anybody watching? Hello, everybody. What do you say? Happy Monday. It is, in fact, Monday, December 21, a great big Monday. What's that, Peter? Only 3 shopping days left right now.
We're almost there, buddy.
Whoa.
We're almost there.
Maybe 4 if you count today. We got it. And we're here. I hope you had a great weekend. Didn't spend your entire weekend either shopping or wrapping presents or stuffing the turkey or whatever, getting ready for Christmas. Had a little chance to relax. Maybe watch a little football. Maybe go out and see Star Wars, whatever. But we welcome you to the program. This Monday, as we start a whole new week here in the step up to Christmas, the Bill Press Show, live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where everybody has fled town. President Obama, of course, in Hawaii, Congress back in their home districts and home states, Vice President up in Wilmington, Delaware. But we got it covered. We're still here. We'll tell you what went on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and what's happening today. And then we'll get your calls and your comments at 866-55-PRESS. Comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. President Obama giving his annual end-of-the-year news conference down at the White House on Friday, where I attended. And I have to tell you, I've never seen so many people in the White House briefing room in my life. In a room that has 49 chairs, there were probably 200 people in that room.
Holy crap.
Where was the fire marshal when we needed it?
Yeah, right. Can you imagine?
And we got the team here today, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Here we are.
Morning.
Happy Monday.
Morning. Ray Rogers on the phones. 866-55-PRESS. Give her a call, and we'll find out what you think about the issues of the day. And we're looking at you on Free Speech TV. Thanks to Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. How about it? Asheville came up to Washington this weekend. I saw our program director, Brian Hall from Asheville, and took home a victory for
how about that?
UNC Asheville over Georgetown.
Yeah, it's a big win.
They were both about the same, I think. Brian was telling me 6-2, I think, coming into today or something.
Yeah,
into the game on Saturday. But yeah. And Peter, you, big news, out to see Star Wars.
Yeah, I saw it. Jamie saw it. Cyprian saw it. All separately, of course, but yeah.
Really?
We saw Star Wars.
And?
It was good. It wasn't amazing.
That's not a great big endorsement.
I cannot recommend it highly enough. You should go see it. But don't go expecting to be blown away, I don't think.
Peter was underwhelmed.
Jamie loved it.
It was a fantastic
and a lot of people
movie.
loved it.
You loved it.
I thought it was very, very well done.
As a movie, I think...
And Ann Hornaday, I know.
Ann Hornaday loved it.
Thanks for filling in Friday, by the way.
Of course.
As
a movie,
really
as a movie, it was paced really, really fast, right? So it moved so quickly through so much of the story. And I know Cyprian was arguing with me earlier because they do move from storyline to storyline through all the Star Wars things, but it was essentially the same exact story as Episode 4, the first one that came out in theaters, and for me it moved too quickly. It's like you're supposed to care so much about this, and then they just turn on a dime for some reason and start caring about this, and It relied a lot on cheap nostalgia, which I think is
How much money did it make?
I was about to do that story in full court.
I'll
I'll bring you up to speed.
All right, good. Would I like it?
No.
All right.
I can say unequivocally you would not like it.
All right. Ray did not see it?
No, I don't think Ray saw it.
Okay, all right. Well, Ray and I are going to have to go.
There you go.
Right. Yeah, how about that? Did you watch the Miss Universe pageant?
No, I didn't.
Well,
I'm sorry to say.
It's too bad because you missed the big excitement. Miss Columbia walking away with the crown, rather. Yeah. At least if you believed Steve Harvey, who is the host. I mean, if you're hosting the Academy Awards, the Oscars, and when you rip open the envelope, you should get it right.
I mean, that's the only thing you got to do,
that's the
really.
Only thing you've got to do. Yeah. Steve Harvey didn't learn that.
Miss Universe 2015 is Colombia.
Oh, how exciting. Congratulations, Colombia. Yeah.
I have to apologize. The first runner-up is Colombia. Miss Universe 2015 is Philippines. It was my mistake. It was on the card.
I was just watching while we were playing the video. There,
yeah.
Right? They actually crowned Miss Columbia.
She had the crown
on. She
on,
had the crown
flowers.
on her head and the flowers, and they had to take the crown and give it.
You know what they say? You had one job, Steve Harvey.
Yeah, one job.
You had one job.
You know, the thing is, we watch in my house, we watch Family Feud every single night. It's hosted by Steve Harvey. It's Magnus's favorite TV show for whatever weird reason. But Steve Harvey is the host of that show. He messes up all the time. Like on the speed rounds, he'll read the question wrong, and then he'll have to tell the clock keeper, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. Let me ask that question again. And he does it with regularity.
He could do it there. Just don't do it on that stage.
It's a mess.
All right.
It's a mess.
We got it. Lots of good reporter friends coming up from Salon, from Huffington Post, New York Times, and Politico. And how about that Saturday night debate? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You mentioned Star Wars, Bill?
Right, lay it.
Star Wars The Force Awakens. It is officially the biggest domestic opening in Hollywood history. It brought in $238 million over the weekend in North America. That is a record for the biggest opening weekend ever. Now, if you look globally, it opened up to $517 million in worldwide ticket sales. That is gigantic. Now, some people have even pointed out that this hasn't even opened in Japan yet, which is the second biggest film market in the world, but they haven't even had a chance to buy their tickets yet. So we're on pace here to see the biggest movie of all time in Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Well, it certainly had a big buildup. They did a tremendous job.
Well, look, I mean, the interesting thing here, just to look at the financial aspect of this, Disney bought the rights to this movie to make the Star Wars movies. They bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion.
Huh.
So they've got a lot of money they got to make back.
Right.
So they're on pace to at least make that money back. Yeah, they'll get that money back. Family went out to eat in Fresno, California, when they were going to an Applebee's, and let
me tell you, in Fresno, that is fine dining.
Yeah, it's good to do that.
As good as it gets in Fresno.
A family went out to eat, and they had $32,000 in the wife's purse. This is not really sure why they had that much money on them. They took a lot out for Christmas.
You don't need that much for Applebee's?
No, it doesn't cost that much to go to Applebee's. But the wife left $32,000, actually left it in the booth. It fell out of her purse while they were having dinner at Applebee's. The waiter found the money and gave it back to the family. Didn't take any of the money. Made sure that she got the money back.
Good for her. I hope so. Yeah.
And I told you last week there's a story about how drinking red wine is just as good for you as going to the gym. Here is a new study from the American Chemical Society. Took a look at the effects of tequila on the body. And apparently the effects of tequila, it affects your blood glucose, your blood sugar level, right? So the sugars found in agave, the plant that's used to make tequila, can actually help to lower your blood sugar, which in turn can help you sort of live a healthier life, lose weight. So drink tequila for health, I guess.
I don't like tequila.
No.
Yeah, but I can't drink tequila.
But
I'll drink it in a margarita.
These studies keep coming up. Drink red wine, drink white wine, drink tequila, drink bourbon. I mean,
they're all BS.
They're all BS.
They're all BS.
Right.
Let's be clear.
Red wine, I don't think is.
I report. You decide.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Indeed. Well, believe it or not, there are a lot of people watch that debate still Saturday night. If you did, call us. Tell us what you thought about it. 866-55-PRESS. But it was a stinker to have that thing on a Saturday night, particularly the Saturday night before Christmas. I mean, come on. I'll come back to Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders were right. This debate schedule was put together by the DNC to benefit Hillary Clinton and to hurt Bernie Sanders and to hurt Martin O'Malley. And frankly, I don't think it helped Hillary Clinton that much either, because I think what it means is that fewer Americans have an opportunity to see our three great candidates for president. I say that as a Democrat. So it doesn't help Hillary to have a smaller audience either, really. I don't know what they're thinking, but I guess they didn't want to see, they don't want people to think that there's any challenge to her, or maybe to see her possibly make a mistake, which she handles the debate well. She's got no problem with these debates. She always does very well in these debates. But scheduling it on Saturday night before Christmas, come on. I don't know about you. Carol and I were out at 2 different Christmas parties. So we didn't see the debate. Right. But 6.7 million people did. However, that is way down, right, from the, 25 or so people who've been watching the Republican debates.
Yeah.
So that's the point that Martin O'Malley has made. They get all that exposure. All those people get to see them by hiding the debates, right? We make it very difficult for people to watch. The very first Democratic debate back in October got 15.3 million viewers. That was a weeknight, good debate, right? Well programmed, well publicized. The next one was the last one was also on a Saturday night in November 14, down to 8.5 million. So basically 1/2.
Pretty much.
Right. And now this one is down even further to 6.7. Of course, going into the debate, the big issue was what happened on Friday when the DNC cut off access of the Sanders campaign to their own data and their own voter base, because they said the Sanders campaign had taken, had infiltrated, if you will. What happened was the firewall that the company that maintains the Democratic database, the website, it's more than a website, it's the whole database, right? They had screwed up, and the firewall disappeared. Yes, when it did, a couple of Bernie Sanders people, staffers, realized they could get into Hillary's information, which they did. The one guy who did it was fired by the Sanders campaign. But anyhow, the DNC, because that happened, they cut Bernie's access off to his own database. Bernie Sanders said, "You better give it back. Give. That's not fair. You got to restore that. We've already fired the guy who did it. It was your fault anyhow for the firewall. The fact the firewall disappeared. If you don't fix it, we're going to sue you." They did sue, and then the DNC caved in and gave the data back. Bernie acknowledged that this was a serious problem at the very start of the debate.
This is a problem. I recognize it is a problem. But what the DNC did arbitrarily, without discussing it with us, is shut off our access to our own information, crippling our campaign. That is an egregious act. I'm glad that late last night that was resolved.
Bernie Sanders fighting mad about that. Would he apologize for it? Damn straight.
Does Secretary Clinton deserve an apology tonight?
Yes, I apologize.
Secretary Clinton, do you accept?
Boom. No BS. Just
Not only do I apologize to Secretary Clinton, and I hope we can work together on an independent investigation from day one, I want to apologize to my supporters.
Yes. So good for Bernie. Stepped up there, right?
Who does that?
Yeah. No.
Who apologizes like that in politics?
And it was
yes, I apologize.
Yeah. And it was sort of, and then remember with the, what was the last one where Bernie said, Hillary's emails.
Yeah.
And
Nobody cares about your damn emails.
Nobody cares about your damn emails. Let's move on. But this time, it's kind of the shoe's on the other foot. And it's Hillary.
We should move on because I don't think the American people are all that interested in this. I think they're more interested in what we have to say about all the big issues facing us.
Yep, right. Good point. So they got that behind them, and then they went on to some other important issues. Hillary Clinton making the point about Donald Trump is really not helping our cause, but maybe helping ISIS. But she made the point perhaps in a way that got her in a little trouble.
He is becoming ISIS's best recruiter. They are going to people showing videos of Donald Trump insulting Islam and Muslims in order to recruit more radical jihadists.
I think her point is actually valid, but do such videos exist? Haven't found any yet. Finally, before we take a break, Bernie Sanders saying, well, those CEOs and those people on Wall Street, they may love Hillary, but not me.
CEOs of large multinationals may like Hillary. They ain't going to like me, and Wall Street is going to like me even less.
That's classic Bernie. More of the debate coming up. I want to hear from you. What did you think? 3 great candidates on stage. Did Hillary hold her own? Did Martin O'Malley improve his standing? And Bernie Sanders, he was fighting mad on Saturday night. Kind of almost a new Bernie. What'd you think? 866-55-PRESS.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, at 26 minutes after the hour, taking a look at Saturday night's big debate. Even on a Saturday night, 6.7 million people did tune in. And Bernie Sanders apologizing for the fact that one of his staffers looked into Hillary's emails. But if they had a vendor who knew what knew what they were doing, that would never have happened. Why did the DNC not go after the vendor? They went after Bernie Sanders instead. I smell a rat. David, out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. What do you say, David?
Hi there.
Hi.
Listen, I think that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has demonstrated so much bias. I mean, he was involved in the elect Hillary campaign in 2012, I believe, and she's between the Saturday night debates and she makes a big deal out of this data breach, and she would never do that if it was Hillary, So I don't buy it anyway.
Yeah, I think she's got a real problem, David. I agree with you. Look, I was Democratic State Chair of California in my youth. Well, before I came here for Crossfire to Washington, and from 93 to 96. And one thing I learned, if you're the chair of the party, state chair, city chair, national chair, and there's a Democratic primary, you have to bend over backwards. Same with the Republican chair. You've got to bend over backwards to be totally fair. An equal opportunity for every single one of the candidates. I don't think Debbie Wasserman Schultz has done that. I think the DNC is a cheering squad for Hillary Clinton.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states But California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California!
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
How about it? 33 minutes after the hour on a Monday, December 21. The Bill Press Show live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. And our studio in Capitol Hill, where we are brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Yes, indeed, we all live better because of the good work of the men and women of the Teamsters Union. Under President Jim Hoffa, we salute them, thank them for the support of the sponsorship of the program, and direct you to their website to find out more about what the Teamsters are up to at teamster.org. Teamster.org. Saturday night's big debate. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley, Hillary in the middle of the stage. What is it about these bathroom breaks, by the way, with Hillary? I mean, you know, I just don't remember this being a problem in the past with either men or women having to rush off to pee and then not being the bathroom not available or something. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing when they came back. Again, I didn't get to see the debate because we were out at a couple of holiday parties, but I've seen certainly lots of clips of it. And that's the one that everybody shows of the empty podium in the middle of the stage and then her tripping behind Bernie to come up to her podium.
I'm back.
Sorry it took so long, right? At any rate. But there were main issues. Martin O'Malley, his point is that both Hillary and Bernie are part of the Washington. They're partly to blame for everything. It's really a stretch to blame Hillary and Bernie for the gun violence, but O'Malley somehow manages to do it.
ISIL training videos are telling lone wolves the easiest way to buy a combat assault weapon in America is at a gun show, and it's because of the flip-flopping political approach of Washington that both of my two colleagues on this stage have represented there for the last 40 years. We need common sense.
Let's calm down a little bit, Martin.
Yeah, let's tell the truth, Martin.
I love that.
That is my favorite clip, by the way.
That is amazing.
Bernie's going,
calm down a little bit, Martin. Hang on, Martin. Slow down there, Martin.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that.
Whoa.
Yeah. I love Bernie was really in good form Saturday night.
Slow your roll, Martin.
Yeah. Now, what about the fact that David Muir gets into with Hillary a little bit? David Muir did a good job from him. So Martha Raddatz was on fire. She was great. She is great, at any rate. What about the fact that all these corporate people love you, David Muir wants to know?
Secretary Clinton, I did want to ask you, the last time you ran for president, Fortune magazine put you on its cover with the headline, Business Loves Hillary, pointing out your support for many CEOs in corporate America. I'm curious, 8 years later, should corporate America love Hillary Clinton?
Everybody should.
Good answer. Yes, good answer. And as I said, Bernie was having a good night. Bernie especially loved the fact when they got off this national security stuff and they got on to taxes, which he loves to talk about the fact that, the wealthy are not paying their share and everybody else is paying too much.
No middle-class tax raises. That is
where
off
we're going
the table
next.
as far as I'm
We're going next to
concerned.
taxes here.
Now this is getting to be fun.
This is fun. This is democracy at work.
That's where we're going next. Now this is getting to be fun. And Hillary, maybe the best line of the night. Her staff had prepped her for this for sure. In her final statement, she closes with the phrase of the day.
Thank you, good night, and may the force be with you.
Oh, jeez.
She had to say it, but yeah, somebody did.
When Star Wars sneaks into your politics, man,
it would have been more fun maybe to hear Bernie say it.
May the force be with you. May the force be with you, Bill.
Calm down, Martin.
Whoa. Calm down, Martin.
All right. What did you think? Who did well? And what about this DNC and the access situation? I think Bernie handled that beautifully. Wayne is calling out in Chicago on WCPT in Chicago. Hello, Wayne.
Good morning, Bill and Peter and the listening audience.
Yes, indeed. What do you think?
Yeah, I think O'Malley did surprisingly well. I think Bernie was too accommodating and too agreeable.
Really? Yeah.
I think he needs to accentuate the differences between him and the other two candidates.
Mm-hmm.
But one last thing, Bill. When Hillary said that single payer would add $18 to $20 trillion to the federal government costs, that was a very bad move because what she was telling everybody was, I'm not going to institute single payer. I'm going to keep on giving the health insurance vultures and the pharmaceutical vultures a chance to rip off America. That's basically what she was saying.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Bernie didn't jump on that more, by the way. But, I think that I agree with you. That is a big mistake because there's a lot. First of all, there's a lot of support for single payer, and there's no doubt it's the best way to go, right? It's the fairest way to go, and it gets I like what you call them, the insurance and the pharmaceutical vultures out of the equation, right? Otherwise, they're driving the show, and they are still under Obamacare. Right. Yeah. All right, Wayne, you got it. Good insights. Appreciate that. Good to hear from you. 866, remember, join the conversation. 866-55-PRESS is the way to get your calls in or your comments on Twitter at BP Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show out in Canton, Michigan. Hello, Dave. What's your take?
Yes, I'm a Bernie supporter, and I donated money to Bernie. And the DNC, they sent me a flyer representing as if they wanted to give money for Bernie. They wanted to raise money. And my question is... What, really?
The DNC did?
Yes, they did. I think they might have called it the Leadership Council.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think what's happened here is they've used Bernie's information to send me a flyer to misrepresent Bernie to send them money so that I wouldn't then have money to send to Bernie. And I'm wondering if any of your other listeners or viewers that donated to Bernie have experienced the same thing.
You know, Dave, I hadn't heard of that before. We'll just have to put that out there. I think if they did happen, that is certainly an egregious abuse of the whole process, because that list. Look, the list of Hillary Clinton supporters is supposed to be hers and hers alone, so she knows who's with her, whom she can get to, which doors to knock on, which people to send a fundraising letter to or an email pitch to, right? The same thing. Bernie's information, that's his, baby, right? Only his, and that's his universe, and he should be the only one tapping them. Hillary should be the only one with access to her, and same thing with Martin O'Malley. I would argue, if that ever happened, for the DNC to be on its own connecting with the supporters of either Hillary or Bernie or Martin O'Malley would be absolutely an abuse of the process. Don't know. You know what? We'll just put it out there, Dave, and see if anybody else had that same experience. Again, at 866-55-PRESS. All in all, you know, I'm not sure this debate changes anything. I think in the national polls, Hillary is still ahead. The polls I saw this morning, Bernie is still ahead in New Hampshire, way ahead of New Hampshire, and they're close in Iowa. But the problem I have with that debate on Saturday night is that they made it very, very difficult, if not impossible, for millions of Americans to see that debate by scheduling it at a time when most people just are not going to be watching television, or at a time of year when they just have a lot of other things to do.
I wish someone would just put that question in front of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and not let up until they get an answer.
Yeah.
The question hasn't been answered. Why are you doing this?
Why would you schedule this on the Saturday night before Christmas? Duh. I mean, not even the networks run anything.
I mean, Saturday night for debate
Saturday night,
dumb idea anyway, but
right.
My goodness.
Charles, up in Mount Vernon, New York. Hello, Charles.
Hi, Bill. I watched the debate Saturday night, and I used to be a Hillary supporter, but I'm a Bernie supporter. And the reason I believe they want them to keep them very short and limited amount of debates is that people might start comparing Bernie's reputation and his background with Hillary's. You know, Bernie goes all the way back to demonstrate against segregation in the colleges with CORE.
Yeah.
As I started watching Bernie, Hillary is out. And Wall Street, not only does Hillary love Wall Street, Wall Street love her. People might start remembering that she made $1,000 investment and turned it into about $400,000 in a week. So that's my take on the debate of why they want to keep them limited and low. Because Bernie, especially black folks, okay, if they would see Bernie's background and his lifespan, what he's done, he brought Jesse Jackson to Vermont. They don't want that out there. That's why there is limited Bernie exposure, and it's incredible to me. I'm a 69-year-old black man, Vietnam vet, former New York City police officer, was totally I was with Bill Clinton till he made some racial remarks about Jesse Jackson, and I flipped to Obama.
All right, yeah. Charles, it's good to hear from you, man. You're right. I mean, Bernie, that's why Bernie got to start in public life as a civil rights activist going down to the South in the civil rights movement, and he's been on the right side of all those issues ever since. Charles, feel the burn.
There he is, man.
All right. The Bill Press Show, we move right along here on a Monday, December 21.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, it's Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show right here on Free Speech TV with, I don't know who you people are, but I'm told you're here every day.
I'm Chris Lavoie. I'm Travis Bone.
Yeah, some assorted mookage.
Oh.
You know how it is.
Yeah, we hang out, we were paid friends.
Yeah, But they're my paid friends. I don't care. We are a little Iowa and Misfit Toys here on the Stephanie Miller Show. I've been told to talk a little about myself for the Free Speech TV audience, but you know how uncomfortable that makes me. Oh, well, let me start anyway. I was, as you can read in my new book, Sexy Liberal, I was abandoned by wolves and raised by Republicans in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've often said, this show is too politically incorrect for liberals and too liberal for conservatives. We have theoretically devised a show that appeals to absolutely no one.
I don't know how we managed to do that.
Yeah, it's a skill.
We've got a loyal, sexy liberal army that we've got behind us.
Yeah, for some reason, we seem to appeal to somebody, though. I guess that's why we're here. We are like the Who's in Whoville. We are here.
Yeah.
We are here. Don't say that. Stop it.
We were wandering around, lost in the woods, and then Free Speech TV found us.
There you go. We listen, and it's an exciting election year. Donald Trump exists. Therefore, there is comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's an entire clown bus, as we know, on the Republican side this year. And Lindsey Graham trailing in the Priscilla Queen of the Desert bus.
Yes,
He's
riding on top with Silver LeMay trailing behind him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saucily in the wind.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to talk about. A lot of issues.
Yep.
We have of course Hillary is starting to give interviews. We have Bernie Sanders drawing huge crowds.
Yep. We got the smartest people on our side. Period.
Yeah. And we have the smartest listeners and viewers here on Free Speech TV in the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and we not only talk about politics, but we also make it fun.
Right. Talk about pop culture, various people getting eaten by alligators, which clearly was brought on by the homo gays.
Well, yeah.
If you can't laugh at this, what can you laugh at?
No, you cannot. But you can catch us every weekday morning right here on Free Speech TV from 9 to noon Eastern. It's just an old woman just blathering away in her basement.
Well, with two mooks, and we have a whole bunch of special guest stars that come in and wander in.
The smartest, funniest people in the country.
People like
I tell
Jim
you what.
Ward, Bob Seska,
right?
Rude Pundit, Eric Bullitt from
We
Media
just
Matters.
had Rob Reiner. We're having Lily Tomlin this week. We're having President Carter. Listen, we are the hottest happening. It's our happening.
We're kind of legit,
and it kind of freaks us out.
Special guest stars just wander in like Mrs. Poole on Valerie's Family.
Right. It's weird. Don't ask me. What a lot of people like to go slumming around here. Don't know what the deal is. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Stephanie Miller Show. Check it out. It's our favorite thing our listeners say is it's our show. It is. It's our show.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. So during the show, feel free to give us a call. 1-800-STEPH12. That's 1-800-STEPH12.
There you go. The Stephanie Miller Show on Free Speech TV every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern.
According to The Nation magazine, this is The Bill Press Show.
Let's make it 12 minutes now before the top of the hour here on a Monday, December 21. Shifting gears just a little bit. The next question is President Obama ending year number 7, ending the first year of what's considered to be his lame duck period. And on Friday, down at the White House, before he took off for the West Coast, San Bernardino, and then on to Hawaii, President Obama, with his year-end news conference, pointing out that he got a lot done during year number 7. And he said he's even going to be more vigorous and more attempting to get even more done in his last year as president in 2016. What do you think? How would you assess President Obama's last year, 2015? 866-55-PRESS. Again, they usually have these news conferences, just a little inside baseball here, in the East Room of the White House. But they can't because the East Room of the White House is filled with Christmas trees and Christmas decorations for all the parties. Then a couple of years they've had this year-end news conference then across the street in the old Executive Office building in the South Court Auditorium. For some reason, I don't know why, they didn't this year. They scheduled it in the White House briefing room. And you've heard before, and you've heard me talk about the fact briefing room may look pretty big on television. It's not. It is about as big as this studio. Well, a little bigger than that,
Slightly
but it's got 49 chairs.
Tinier
period.
than you're imagining.
49 chairs, 7 rows, 7 seats. And then you can have another maybe 20 or 25 people standing around the side, right? Okay? Or in the back of the room. I'm telling you, I did not count them. I bet there were 200 people crammed into that room. It was unbearable. And then even the spillover behind the room, where people were couldn't see the president, were just listening to him. It was a wild scene. But the president he does that every year, and he made the point that he said, look, I was supposed to be a dead duck this year. That not got anything done. Well, let's see. Among other things, he cited, we normalized relations with Cuba. That was announced at the very end of last year, but this is a year where they've started actually taking some really big steps. In fact, on Friday, I think it was, they announced that commercial air service is actually going to start. So you don't have to go on a charter flight to Cuba. You can just call your airline, like you call to buy a ticket to Des Moines or someplace, buy a ticket to Havana. That's a big, huge change. So, for instance, the whole opening up with Cuba, 2015, the big climate deal in Paris, huge achievement, coming on top of the EPA's orders about new and existing power plants. So a lot on climate change, including the big Paris Summit agreement, 2015. The Iran nuclear deal, everybody said it would never happen. They got it done. He cited that as another huge achievement in 2015. He cited the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's not that you have to agree with everything he accomplished, but the point was he did get it done.
Yeah.
We didn't like it, still don't like it, but he got the Trade Promotion Authority, the TPA, which led to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And he also pointed out that on the budget deal, he got what he wanted in this sense, that they did not shut down the government. They did not put a rider in there to defund Planned Parenthood. And there's no rider in there to prevent any Syrian refugees from coming into this country as they threatened. And he said, basically, in the end, it was a compromise piece of legislation.
I'm not wild about everything in it. I'm sure that's true for everybody, but it is a budget that, as I insisted, invests in our military and our middle class without ideological provisions that would have weakened Wall Street reform or rules on big polluters.
I saw several members of Congress, including Senator Pat Leahy, over the weekend at different holiday functions. And several of them told me that there's some really good stuff in this budget for our side, if you will. There's more money for the Peace Corps than ever before in this budget. There's a lot of money for the environment, for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is used to protect key parcels of land in this country, and more money for oceans protection in the budget. So we got some good stuff.
That's not bad.
Not bad. And the president once again wanted to reassure the country that despite what happened in Paris, despite what happened in San Bernardino, that we are on track to our goal of degrading and destroying ISIS.
We're going to defeat ISIS, and we're going to do so by systematically squeezing them, cutting off their supply lines, cutting off their financing, taking out their leadership, taking out their forces, taking out their infrastructure.
And now the president off to Hawaii to kick back for 2 weeks, and he's already off to a good start. Had his first round of golf in yesterday.
There you go. First of many, I hope.
All right. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So we'll check in with Scott Conroy from Huffington Post at the top of the next hour, Peter.
All right, so this press conference that you went to, it ended in a very interesting way after the president wrapped up. He said, quote, "Okay, everybody, I got to get to Star Wars," and went to go and see Star Wars, which he was having a screening at the White House. And then Josh Earnest walked out with 2 stormtroopers, complete in costume. Stormtroopers accompanied Josh Earnest up to the podium, to which one reporter in the crowd, I'm not sure who it was, shouted, "Well, now we know which side you're on, Josh." He's on the dark side, apparently. So while you guys are important and the end of the year press conference is important, it's not nearly as important as Star Wars.
I mean, the president crammed a lot of stuff. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the news conference, and he said, "This may be an important event," but that's how he started. But said, "This is not the most important event of the day.
Yeah.
We have a screening of Star Wars that I've got to get to." So he says, "I'm going to be rather brief here today." Hour number 2 coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
One of the most profound movements and one of the first real social movement in American history was all about slavery, and that's labor. And it was about creating a different kind of democracy, different kind of way of thinking about the economy. And I think these battles aren't over. The African American portion of American wealth as a whole is 3% today. And the last time it was 3% was in 1868, 3 years after slavery. African Americans going back to before the Civil War, and the earliest African American spokespersons and writers and leaders like Frederick Douglass and others argued that the fundamental feature of the American economy was dehumanization. And they also argued that you can't have a democratic constitution and an economic system that degrades and exploits people. Many of the radical Republicans who fought for the Civil War and in the Civil War believed the same thing. I think the true intent of the 13th Amendment wasn't just to eliminate chattel slavery. It was to eliminate all forms of economic oppression and create what we would now call living wages for everybody. I think that was the true intent. But these things were overthrown. After the Civil War, there was a counter-revolution, Lincoln's assassination, the destruction of Reconstruction. We got segregation, which wasn't just about making white people feel superior, it was about a cheap labor force, which persisted. The 1963 March on Washington, where everyone sees Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Well, King wasn't head of that march. A. Philip Randolph was, the first black trade union president. The demand of the march was for jobs and freedom. Jobs came even before freedom. That sort of dream of a new kind of economy was tightly connected with thinking about voting rights and a new kind of politics. And when African Americans said we refuse to work as basically semi-slave laborers with no rights and no voting rights and no protections, and my generation said we're not going to do that work that our parents did, then employers started bringing undocumented immigrants into the country to work with no rights and no protections. And when the government said, well, what are we going to do with all these young folks like me who don't want to do this kind of semi-slave work? They didn't reform the economy. They said, let's lock them up. And we got mass incarceration. And so I think all of these things are related to our history. All of these things are part of the challenge of changing the system. And the system connects these things.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
You know, I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Is the Bill Press Show.
Star Wars, what a weekend! Opening with $238 million in the till. God, everybody would have to see it but me. Sounds like. Hello, everybody. What do you say? Happy Monday, December 21. Great to see you today, and welcome to this Monday edition of the Bill Press Show, 4 days before Christmas. Coming to you from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, which is pretty quiet these days, except for the holiday shoppers, but all the members of Congress and the president and the vice president, and I'm sure most of the cabinet, out of town already for the holidays. We're hanging in here through Wednesday at least, and then it's our chance to say
yeah.
Bye.
Farewell.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Right, indeed. Great to see you. Don't forget, as we tell you what's going on today and talk about the issues of the day. We really want to hear from you and get your take, whether it's on Saturday night's debate or what's happening with what happened with the big budget, what was in it, what was out, what we consider a reasonable compromise and what we had to give up in that. Whatever, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson leading the team here.
Hello, Bill.
Yes, indeed. All right. With Ray Rogers on the phones at 866-55-PRESS and Cyprian Bolding on the video cam, keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV. Well, you know, there are a lot of different words to sum up what we think about Donald Trump. Jeb Bush on Friday finally said, "Okay, I want to tell you what I think of him. I just gotta get this off my chest.
I got to get this off my chest. Donald Trump is a jerk.
Thank you. A jerk."
Oh, wow.
There it is. Yeah.
Short to the point.
Kind of sums it up.
You cannot insult your way to the presidency. You can't disparage women, Hispanics, disabled people. Who is he kidding?
It's pretty good. You know, Jeb stepped up there a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I still say he is not entirely out. It's not entirely impossible that Jeb Bush ends up being the Republican nominee.
He's still hanging in there.
Yeah, a lot of
barely,
time.
but he's in there.
I know, but he's still among the top four, way down, but he's fourth, but among the top four. What I want to see is, I think it'll be interesting when Donald Trump and Jeb Bush actually meet before the next debate.
Ooh, boy.
Having called him a jerk. But, of course, Donald Trump has called everybody else on that stage names and said things about them. And so I don't think he can't complain if he gets some slings coming back in the other direction.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a lot going on. We're going to start at this hour with Scott Conroy from the Huffington Post. Lauren French from Politico joins us at the half hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Okay, so a new poll from PPP, Public Policy Polling, took a look at some GOP supporters, specifically Donald Trump supporters, and found that there was about 30% of Donald Trump supporters say that the national security threat posed by the nation of Agrabah demands U.S. military intervention. That the situation in Agrabah is so bad that 30% of Republicans think that we need to go in there and bomb them, and U.S. military should get involved.
I don't have my atlas handy, but exactly where is Agrabah?
Agrabah, I'm glad you asked, Bill. It is a fictional country portrayed in the movie Aladdin, an animated movie that came out in 1992.
Yeah, isn't that great?
They actually advocated bombing a fictional country because it's such a problem.
I know.
So there you go on your foreign policy skills.
Those
a little
are the
bit of
people
brushing
who
up.
watch Fox News.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Little trip to the movies this year. You might have seen a lot of mistakes. In fact, MovieMistakes.com said that their list had more mistakes in movies than any other year in the history of movie. Now, here's the thing. What they do is little movie mistakes. So the number one movie this year that had more errors than any other movie was The Fast and the Furious 7. 41 errors spotted by the website and by fans. So what they see is in one scene, there's a car that has tinted windows, and then in the next scene, the windows aren't tinted anymore, and the driver has a mask on, so you can see that it's not the person that it's supposed to be. There's also another issue where one person is sitting in the car in one scene, and then they cut to the next scene, and they're standing out of the car. We never see them get out of the car.
Well, there's a reason there's 7 of them in 10 years.
Yeah, right.
Not much attention
They don't
to
spend
detail
a
on the
whole
editing.
lot of time in the editing room, I guess. But MovieMistakes.com said that one had 41 total errors. Second place was Jurassic World, and The Martian was in third place. So
none of them I happen to see.
Yeah, I guess you didn't see any of those, did you? Hey, listen up, ladies. You want to carry a stylish handbag, but also want to conceal the smell of the bag of weed you have with you? There's now a bag for you. It is a company called Annabis. For women who want to carry a stylish bag, but also not let the stink of their dank stink up wherever they are, right? So if you've got a bag of weed, there's a little pouch inside of the purse that's sold here. It's called their odor lock technology. It's an airtight zipper with a layered lining of scent-blocking resin that you put your little baggie of weed inside this, you zip it up, and nobody can smell. So even if you're carrying the stickiest of the icky, nobody will be able to tell.
You know what? I mean, I bet they're selling big in Colorado.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Where's the mail option?
Yeah, I mean, those have got to count.
Disappointed.
Like a fanny pack, right? Like a male fanny pack.
Oh, boy.
I don't carry my weed in my wallet, so I don't really know how else to do it.
I'm not...
Comments, Bill?
No comment.
Yeah, if there's a special someone in your life, you just go find Annabis.
13 minutes after the hour now. Yes, indeed. Bernie Sanders, he was really more energized maybe and more feisty than we've ever seen before in Saturday night's debate. Here's just one little clip where Martin O'Malley is making a point. He's attacking both Bernie and Hillary, blaming them for assault weapons. And Bernie doesn't wait until he's called on.
ISIL training videos are telling lone wolves the easiest way to buy a combat assault weapon in America is at a gun show, and it's because of the flip-flopping political approach of Washington that both of my two colleagues on this stage have represented there for the last 40 years. We need common sense.
Martin.
Calm down a little bit, Martin.
Yeah, let's tell the truth, Martin.
Hold on there, Martin. Whoa, Martin.
Whoa. What do you say? Scott Conroy's been following the Bernie Sanders campaign for Huffington Post, senior political reporter, joining us on our newsline this morning. So, Scott, this is a kind of a different Bernie than we've seen before, huh?
He was a little more aggressive. He sounded like he was in a car and someone cut him off on the BQE in New York or something.
Yeah,
for most of the debate.
Slow down there, Martin.
Right.
But I watched most of it. I'm in New Hampshire at a Bernie debate watch party in Manchester, and I mean, his supporters are not going away here, especially, and they were into it and they were riveted the whole time. So, I think a lot of people probably thought that Clinton got out of that pretty unscathed, but Bernie's going to have his base of supporters that are going to stick by him, and especially in New Hampshire, he's still competitive.
Yeah. By the way, just a little tangent here, but the latest polls show he's still holding up in New Hampshire, right? I mean, he's holding a lead there.
Yeah, there's a few that have shown him ahead, a couple have shown him slightly behind, but I think most people feel like he's a little bit ahead here. I mean, the key to everything for him, though, at this point is Iowa, I think, because, if he doesn't win Iowa, then it's going to be tougher for him in New Hampshire, and then after that, of course, there's not a lot of opportunities for him. So I think he's going to have to find a way to pick up some steam in Iowa and figure out how to notch an unlikely win there, and that's the only way that he's going to get any real momentum going. He's got to get those first couple of states, I think.
The debate Saturday night, holding this debate again on the Saturday night before Christmas, both Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley have made the point that this is a deliberate effort on the part of the DNC to basically favor Hillary Clinton. Is that argument, or must be resounding with the people you talk to, his supporters?
Yeah, I mean it's not exactly a conspiracy theory that's very difficult to believe. There's just what we saw over the weekend with the data breach and the way that the DNC responded to that. I mean, it certainly, I think I've heard from a lot of people in the O'Malley campaign and the Sanders campaign from the beginning that have basically been complaining that the DNC is essentially in the tank for Hillary. I mean, when you come up here in New Hampshire, the Hillary people say it's a coincidence. Her campaign office, her campaign headquarters here is literally next door to the state party headquarters. So there seems to be, a lot of those little anecdotal information that suggests that Democrats, by and large, both from the national and statewide level, are pretty set for a Hillary Clinton nomination, and they want that to happen.
Yeah. Well, this debate, so the Saturday before Christmas, Saturday night, and the last one was a Saturday night in Iowa on the night of the big Hawkeyes game, right? You know, as Bernie says,
the DNC
coincidence?
says that the DNC says that since they don't have as many debates on cable TV, and that they are generally using the networks, it was harder to convince the networks to give up that weekday primetime airtime for debates. It seems a little strange now, considering how many people are tuning into these, especially on the Republican side.
Right.
But politics is a big draw right now, so that doesn't seem like a great argument.
Now, I want to go back to you mentioned it to this flap of the over the access to the database, which has been resolved now. But so my question was, which I raised myself on MSNBC's Friday night, why weren't people talking more about the vendor being at fault than the Sanders campaign? I mean, the vendor, this is not the first time that this firewall is broken down.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the answer probably, as you know, is that we in the media like to have a pretty a simple sort of narrative of one campaign going after the other one. But that's, the Bernie made that point himself, I think, a couple times in the debate, and when he did the Sunday shows yesterday. So I don't really know, the details of how that happened and what happened with the vendor, but certainly seems like a fair point.
Well, it didn't, the whole flap, I mean, Bernie did lose access to his database for, I don't know, maybe a day or whatever. But in the end, I think this whole flap helped Bernie Sanders. Would you agree? I mean, just in terms of, number one, people were reminded, hey, there's a Democratic primary going on too, right? And number two, here's Bernie Sanders, who's under attack by the establishment Democratic Party,
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And I think the first part of that, the reminder that there is a Democratic race, is actually important, just because, I mean, look, I think we can all agree the Republican side is just more wildly entertaining every single day. I mean, it's just, there's just a lot more going on. The candidates are much more direct, not just Trump, about going after each other. There's just a lot more fireworks on that side. So I think you're right. I think that showed that Bernie is in this to actually make some noise and try to win it, and to that narrative that you just described of taking on the establishment is one that he wants to present for sure.
Sure. So his focus immediate focus is going to be Iowa, right? I mean, I understand he's going back there today, or is already there. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in pretty decent shape here in New Hampshire. I interviewed him last week and spent some time with him on the campaign trail, and he has a pretty energized base of support here. Obviously, he's a neighboring state senator.
Yep.
And people, candidates from both sides in the history of the New Hampshire primary from neighboring states, be it Vermont, be more typically Massachusetts, tend to do really well in New Hampshire in shared media markets that they have here. So a lot of people know him. In Iowa, Iowa is a state where he should be set up to do very well. And, of course, Iowa was the state that really marked the beginning of Hillary Clinton's downfall in 2008. Not a state that has been particularly friendly to the Clintons throughout their history, unlike New Hampshire. You would think that, and it's got a very white, very liberal base that would tend to do well for Bernie. But Hillary Clinton has been organizing there for a long time and really has a strong ground game. The Bernie people will say that they do too. But I think if you look at this realistically, I mean, Bernie can't start just in New Hampshire. He's really got to mount the surprise in Iowa in order to have any chance at generating steam enough to actually win the nomination.
Right, and it all depends, as you say, on that ground game he's able to put together, and we're told that he is building indeed. It's fun to watch. Well, you must have that was a good time up there with the Bernie Sanders debate watch party, I'm sure. Scott, thanks so much for joining us early this morning and bringing us up to date. Thanks, Scott. Talk to you again soon.
All right, thank you.
Scott Conray, Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Officer, were you the one who arrested me? Gonna shake my hand? So I got invited to host a vigil called Carry the Names. And that's what they were doing, carrying the names of the people who were victims of deadly police force. Michael Brown, Eric Garner, that guy Gurley. I got a motion from Dragonfly from Stop Shopping Choir, and I started preaching. I preached up a storm as best I could, but about a minute and a half into my sermon, the place was flooded with police, Homeland Security, National Guard, state troopers, and I was pushed over and handcuffed so fast, down in the jail, down in the basement. Before you know it, I was out the door, put in prison overnight. The next morning, I'm in court. The same thing happens. I'm just rushed out of there. Then our lawyer, Wiley Steckler, gives me this iPhone. And there, in black and white, in the Gothamist, a popular paper, is this charge by Adam Lisberg, the MTA law enforcement spokesperson for this grand place. His quote is that I, Reverend Billy, physically attacked a police officer. Unbelievable. The feeling of being robbed of my work and life and identity, just the fiction. I did not touch anybody. I did not look. I know how to do this. I'm trained in nonviolence. I did not do anything. It was right here. It was right here. It happened right here. I was simply arrested while I was speaking and taken away, and that's it. The cold feeling in my city, the city that I love, that city spokespersons whose salary I pay for with my taxes, that they would say this. I could just feel the rending apart of the community, that we are not that close. We're not. They are willing to say this, and they think that they can just say anything about anybody and get away with it. So we have something in the Church of Stop Shopping called radical forgiveness. Amen?
Cops and bankers love their children.
I forgive the police.
We gotta love them too. Cops and bankers love their mothers.
But I'll stay radical.
Mothers love their brothers. We gotta love them too.
But we'll wake up every morning forgiving each other, reaching out, touching, telling stories, having humor, being in a community together, sharing our children, sharing the streets, sharing the climate, being in the city together. But forgiving each other, being grateful to each other, helping each other out, living together, living together.
I got a daughter just turned 4. What do we do in the superstore? What do we do with the blood and the gore? The water's rising through our door. Love our children too. Love our children too.
Amen. Earth hallelujah.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Lauren French from Politico, congressional reporter, joins us at the half hour. So the big show Saturday night was not the debate. It was Saturday Night Live.
Oh, man.
Of course, right. So Tina Fey and Amy Poehler both co-hosting. So we had Hillary Who plays Hillary this year? It's
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon. So in this one scene, Kate McKinnon's Hillary, this year Hillary, in bed, and she wakes up and there's the previous Hillary there with a warning, and then, of course,
who else?
Sarah Palin shows up.
That's actually why I'm here, Hillary. To warn you. On Christmas Eve 2007, I was cocky too. And then someone named Barack Obama stumbled out of a soup kitchen with a basketball and a cigarette and stole my life.
So watch out.
Hello, Sarah.
Well, what the heck? I landed in the bedroom of a lesbian couple.
We're not lesbians. We're Hillary Clintons.
Oh, right. We ran for president together. Oh, you poor thing. I heard that after you lost, you had to become a secretary of state. Oh, God, that was a real fun election. I was paired up with that cute little John McCain fella. May he rest in peace, I'm guessing.
Oh, God, no. No. Oh, man.
Yeah, after you lost, you had to become a secretary. Oh, yeah, right. I love that. I was wondering with that cute little John McCain fellow. May he rest in peace. I'm guessing. Wow. But the three of them together. Very funny combination. Okay, so we got a big budget deal done. How good is it? Who got what out of it? Lauren French has the answer. She joins us next on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
my beauty,
my power,
my life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour. Here we are on a Monday, December 21. So good to see you and welcome. Thank you for joining us to The Bill Press Show on this Monday. Coming to you live from a little town called Washington, D.C. here on the Potomac. Happens to be our nation's capital. And we're house sitting this week because everybody else is out of town. So we're just trying to keep things going here. Congress wrapped it up with a big vote on the budget and on the tax extender bill coming together in a historic compromise. President Obama talked about it on Friday at our news conference down at the White House, where he said, didn't get everything I want, but still a good bill.
I'm not wild about everything in it. I'm sure that's true for everybody, but it is a budget that, as I insisted, invests in our military and our middle class without ideological provisions that would have weakened Wall Street reform or rules on big polluters.
And Lauren French was watching this closely for whoa, that was our last guest for Politico. Sorry about that.
No worries.
And joins us, senior congressional reporter joins us in studio. Hi, Lauren. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Nice to see you. So, all this talk about government shutdown, defunding Planned Parenthood, all that, all fell apart, huh?
It really did. The Planned Parenthood issue was so hot over the summer, and that's really what conservatives were gearing toward. But they tried multiple ways before the budget passed to defund it, and they saw that there was really no path in the Senate and no path with Obama. So they kind of walked that back, looked more towards the Syrian refugee issue when that became an issue. And that was something that they could get a win on. There was broad bipartisan support for kind of curbing that program and increasing vetting standards. So yeah, it really did fall off the radar. And what was surprising about this budget is, my team and myself at Politico were there all last week. I think John Bresnahan and I left around midnight on Tuesday, and everyone was really worried that it wouldn't pass. Not that there would be a shutdown because they would have done another CR, but that it really would have failed. And then all of a sudden you come out with a really big vote, which you have to give credit to Steve Scalise and then to Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer. They whipped their teams really hard. It was like 303 passage. And that's a big vote for a bill that no one likes. Everyone hates it. So.
Right. Now, on the Syrian refugees, are you saying that the ban on Syrian refugees was left in the budget?
It was not. So there's been two Syrian refugee bills that have been voted on. There's the one that increases standards for vetting the people coming in from Iraq and Syria, and it's kind of putting a temporary hold on that program until those increased standards could go up. That's the McCall-Hudson bill that was voted on, passed by the House, not taken up by the Senate, not included in the Omni. The Senate should be taking that up in January or beyond. What was included in there was the visa waiver program, which is another response to the shooting in Paris, and that's the one that ends it. So if you're coming in from ally countries, France, Europe, etc., you don't need a visa to enter the United States. But now, with that language in the Omni, they are really tightening those restrictions, making it so those countries have kind of amped up passports, that you have to have e-verification. There's going to be intelligence sharing, and all of this was a response to the shooting in Paris.
All right, so who As you heard the president say, he's not happy with everything in it. Obviously, he's happy with some stuff in it. Who got what?
So the biggest Republican win, Speaker Paul Ryan was able to negotiate lifting the ban on crude oil exports.
Right.
That is a Republican win in the bag.
Can I stop you right there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, granted, that's a win for them. I don't understand why they want it.
So for
Who
them,
does this benefit?
For them, it lowers, the Republican belief is that it lowers gas prices, lowers crude oil prices. It allows...
By sending our oil out of the country, it lowers gas prices?
Increases, you're able to increase the supply of it. There's less regulations, there's less issues for small exporters or even large exporters to deal with. And that, this is this is their argument of why it is good. Job increases, there was numbers floating around of how many more jobs it could create. Oil export is not necessarily totally in my wheelhouse, so I don't have more specifics for
I just don't understand it. Because it just seems to me it flies in the face of what conservatives believe, which is that we have to have energy independence. I've always heard they're slamming Obama for not, I think incorrectly, but I hear them all the time slamming Obama for not allowing enough new drilling, right?
Well, part of that is
drilling, but exporting the oil. What's the point?
Well, I think it's more about having the opportunity to send U.S. made, I guess not U.S. made, but U.S. Produced oil abroad and having the ability to enter the markets. Mm-hmm. So that was a big win for them.
Anyhow,
it was a
win for them.
Yeah, that was a lot of the southern states wanted this. This was a big win for Republicans. Democrats won by not having anything else in. Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid were really able to beat back Planned Parenthood, other anti-abortion, pro-life measures in there. They were able to get a number of other policy riders they did not like to stay out of the bill. And all in all, Democrats really were the winners in this capacity. They're so deep in the minority, and the only thing they really gave up was the crude oil ban. There was a lot of issues that, a gun control research measure wasn't included. They were not able to get anything on a host of other issues that they really did want. They wanted changes for refineries based off this crude oil provision. That didn't get in there. But when you look at, Nancy Pelosi has 188 members and they get beat back everything that they didn't really, really want and were just giving up on this crude oil. Democrats did come out a winner. What really helped this come together, and we wrote about this for Politico, is that the big four all failed to get what they really wanted, their pet projects. So for Mitch McConnell, it was a rider on PACs, so making it easier for Republican committees to fundraise. For Harry,
did not get that.
He did not get that. Harry Reid didn't get something on Caesar's Palace for Las Vegas.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi didn't get what she wanted on Puerto Rico debt, and Paul Ryan didn't. He had a pro-life conscious objection amendment or a rider he wanted in there. He didn't get that. So when all four of them were able to realize they weren't going to get their pet projects, you were able to see more movement going forward. And this really did come together, talking to sources who were in the room negotiating and staffers for these people, really came together right before it was released. It was released late, what was it? I guess really early Wednesday morning around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And they were working up until then. They weren't just sitting on it, and they were making sure that people were really well briefed on it.
That's funny that that's how it would work out, that all four of them, since each one of them didn't get their pet project, right, then they all were able to come together.
Yeah. No. Well, that's right. Either everyone has to get it or no one can get anything.
Yeah, right. But I talked to several Democratic members over the weekend and running into various holiday parties who were very happy with the deal, because not totally happy, but there were things like under the radar. Congressman Sam Farr told me, for example, that they got much more funding for Peace Corps than had originally been planned. He's a Peace Corps volunteer, right, and that's always been a big issue for him. I ran into some of the legislators Saturday night talking about there's a thing called the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which was running out, which is very important because it enables the federal government to buy key parcels of land that are threatened. And they got more continued funding for that and more protection for oceans protection. And So that there was some good stuff in there. Right?
Absolutely. There was a lot of environmental wins, and a lot
Unions
of them
were happy because the Cadillac tax
Yes.
was delayed.
Unions actually were a big part of how this got passed.
Yeah.
You saw the Progressive Caucus, Keith Ellison and Rahul Garava, particularly, really anti this bill. And they were whipping up. We had talked to progressive leaders who were saying they were going to try to team up with the Tri-Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Asian Caucus, Hispanic Caucus, and hold firm saying, no, they won't support it. And with that group of people, that's more than half, way more than half of the Democratic caucus.
Biggest caucus.
So if you had all four of them come together, and there is a lot of overlap in their membership, but if you had four of them together, they could have sank the bill. But that's not what happened. Unions started calling. You had lots of phone calls, lots of letters going out saying we really do support this. So unions were big in helping getting this passed, and Nancy Pelosi's office was working with them saying, please call, we're hearing real concerns.
Right. Now, I had an email last night from Harold Schaitberger, the president of the firefighters, again, who was another one who was telling me that they got some really good stuff in here. We're able to stop some other stuff that they would. So all in all, I guess this was, and the president made that point, this was sort of the classic compromise,
correct,
almost the way Washington is supposed to work.
It is. That's exactly what it was. And all of this came from the budget that was passed previous to this. So this was the appropriations process of how the money is going to be spent. Those spending limits were set earlier this fall, and that was an increase over the sequester level. So a lot of that new money came from the fact that they had more money to spend. They voted to lift those sequester caps.
All right. So with that, Congress is gone, and when they come back, what can we expect, if anything, in an election year, 2016? Lauren French here. She's got the answers, congressional reporter for Politico, Politico.com. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour here. Lauren French with us from Politico, talking about what we've seen from this Congress in its closing days of 2015. And so what can we expect in 2016? Is this just going to be everybody focused on re-election and
it is
nothing happening here?
Yeah, absolutely. They're not even here very often next year. The House is in something like 80 days.
Get out.
Yeah, it's really, really low.
Oh my God. It's hard to believe they could work fewer days than they did in 2015.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. I haven't covered Congress. I was a tax reporter during the last presidential. I didn't cover Congress. I covered Congress, but not directly as one of our House reporters. But I don't know really what they're going to do, which means I don't know what I'm going to do. So this is going to probably be fun, maybe. I don't know. This is going to be an issue. But no, Paul Ryan has said they are going to put up a Obamacare repeal. One of the first bills.
Oh, that would be new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are going to put up.
Why would he do that?
So his whole new plan is
he knows it's not going anywhere.
He doesn't care. Paul Ryan does not care that it's not going to pass. He knows it's not going to pass. His idea is he's going to put up what he wants the Republican agenda to be. He wants any presidential candidate to have a really strong bench in the House, a Republican presidential candidate. So what his plan is to put up what he would want the agenda to be if they had a more cooperative Senate, if there was a Republican in the White House. So there's going to be a Republican tax reform plan. There's going to be a Republican appropriations process, a repeal on Obamacare. They are going to look for Planned Parenthood ways to get rid of its federal funding. And that's really what conservatives and a lot of Republicans in the House wanted from John Boehner. They wanted the fight. They wanted the ability to vote and outline what they stood for, not just kind of lurch from crisis to crisis. And then in the conservatives' view, what Boehner did was really just capitulate to Democrats and do whatever passed.
Don't they call these, show votes? Is that the word for
messaging bills?
Yeah, right? I mean,
and that's what they are. But next year, the only thing that Congress really has to do is an appropriations process, a budget.
I saw a headline on Politico this morning. I was just double checking to make sure, and it is on your site.
Well, even if it's on Huffington Post, I'm sure it's pretty good.
Okay. And it says, Paul Ryan coy on 2017. I haven't had a chance to read the article yet. What's that all about?
The next speaker's race. So obviously, Paul Ryan jumped in to finish Boehner's term. He's only elected until the end of this next Congress. So will he run again for speaker?
They always have to run. They have to run for every Congress. They have to rerun. John Boehner had to do that too, right?
Exactly. It's a term limited. And it's not term limited. You only serve for the term you are elected. Yeah. So that's what he's being coy about. Is Paul Ryan really didn't want this job. He was very reluctantly dragged into this to replace John Boehner. He was the only one who could get the number of votes needed after Kevin McCarthy dropped out. Does he like it? I think that he's growing into it. I think that he is enjoying the job, and we'll see how this next year goes. But Paul Ryan also wants to run for higher office. He has dreams and visions that are outside the House, and eventually it becomes difficult to be Speaker of the House and do those other things, run for president, etc. He couldn't do both at the same time. He could really never return to rank and file. There's no real interest in a Senate run for him. So it all kind of depends on how his political calculations move. And of course, he has to be coy. If a Republican wins, then he can stick around for a few more years because it's not as if he can challenge a sitting Republican president. Right. If Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Martin O'Malley win, then he has a little bit more room to maneuver, and maybe he doesn't run again so he can start gearing up for a presidential campaign.
I think he's kidding himself if he thinks it's going to be. We saw him as a national candidate. I wasn't that impressed, but he's grown into the job, so maybe he would take a shot at it. I have some friends who believe that he will be the Republican presidential nominee this year or next year.
Next year, sure.
Brokered
2016.
convention.
Brokered convention, here he comes.
But I can tell you, he ruled that out.
He's this is his shtick. Oh, I don't want to be your vice presidential candidate. No. All right, I'll do it. Oh, I don't want to be speaker. All right, I'll do it. Watch. They'll say to the convention next year, he could easily say, oh, I don't want to be the nominee for president. But all right, if you insist, I'll do it.
It's a
But
possibility.
if they got to a brokered convention and they could not get enough votes for Trump or Cruz or Jeb or whatever, they're going to have to turn to somebody else. And people are saying either Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan. So he's in a good position.
It's like a made-for-TV movie. Right
Isn't
there.
it, though?
Isn't
Really?
it?
Can you even imagine? Oh, my God.
Right. Have he and President Obama struck up any kind of a working relationship?
I don't think they've had
I don't think they've had a one-on-one.
I don't know.
We keep asking Josh at the White House.
Yeah.
And they've talked on the phone.
Sure.
Maybe, but
I don't know. I don't know if they have. I don't know if they haven't had a one-on meeting. I think that would have been reported.
Yeah.
It's possible in the past they have. But as of right now, he's really still getting to know a lot of his contemporaries. He, as much as Paul Ryan is really a thought leader among Republicans, he was a budget chairman, a Ways and Means chairman for a brief second, and now he's speaker. So he's getting to know Harry Reid. He's getting to know Mitch McConnell. He's getting to know Nancy Pelosi. He's probably getting to know Obama in a whole new way. And it's also been it was crazy. Like, John Boehner retired, Kevin McCarthy dropped out, Paul Ryan was elected, and then we just ran into Thanksgiving and ran through the month of December. I don't know if they would have had time to honestly meet, but yes, they've talked by phone. There was a lot of outreach for the budget, but this is going to be a relationship that probably grows next year, which is hard to grow a relationship between two opposing party leaders.
Well, the next time you see him, you can tell Paul Ryan, I just have one piece of advice.
Yeah.
Get an apartment.
Thought you were going to say shave the beard.
No, I like the beard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the beard. Get an apartment. Stop sleeping in your office. I mean, come on. You make a lot of money. Get an apartment. Hey, Lauren, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry
Great to
Christmas.
see you. Thank you. Have a great break, and thanks for coming in this morning.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, here we go. Another big hour coming up here. You're going to have to wait until 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern on Free Speech TV. If you want to watch this right away, you can jump over to TawkrTV, our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. In the next hour, it finds out that there are a lot of organizations that have been cheating and not reporting failures of research tests to the Department of Food and Health. We will find out about that, and we'll also talk to Emma Roller from the New York Times. Hour number 3 coming up.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear. We had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
Should I get back?
what do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Well, what's on the president's schedule today? How dare you ask, dummy? He's on vacation.
Yeah.
What the hell, right? He played golf. He went for a hike. They went out for dinner last night. Sounds like a good time for me.
Yeah.
I hope they got a swim in there, too. After all, he is in Hawaii, right? And he'll be on vacation. We are still at work. Charles Pillar joins us from Stat, West Coast editor, with a big news scandal coming up. We'll tell you all about it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this. Because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Neighbors, a little word about Free Speech TV. You know, it's that time.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Star Wars off with a bang, $238 million here in the United States, over $500 million worldwide. Why weren't you out there? Hey, hello, everybody. I guess I'm not the only one. About maybe the only one who didn't see it. Hey, great to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday, December 21. The Bill Press Show, reaching out to you coast to coast all across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station, on the TuneIn app, on the iHeartRadio app, and on television, on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV. No excuse for you not being part of the program today, not being with us. We are happy to see you today and invite you to join the conversation. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Join the team. Peter Ogburn, Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Yes.
Hey.
Ray Rogers on the phones and Cyprian Bolding on the video cam, our videographer. And it was too quick for Saturday Night Live to do a take on the Democratic debate, which was earlier that same evening. So instead, they did a little take on the Republican debate, of course, the last one, which was Tuesday night. And again, Jay Farrell is killer. He does a killer Ben Carson once again.
Doctor, do you, a brain surgeon, have the experience and toughness to deal with world leaders like Vladimir Putin?
Well, that question makes me furious, Wolf. I might go ham up in here right now. Of course I can be tough. As a surgeon, I had to tell people things they didn't want to hear. Not that they had to have brain surgery, that it would be performed by me, a man who they believe to be asleep. But I'm not asleep. I'm amped, I'm jacked, and I'm ready to throw down.
The best part of that clip.
A man they believe to be asleep.
The best part of that clip is how accurately he goes, "Thank you, Woof."
I know, yeah. Who let the dogs out?
Yes. Thank you, Woof.
Oh, my, I'll tell you.
Oh, man.
Too much. Yes, indeed. All right, lots of serious stuff today. Start off this hour learning about some shocking news when it comes to medical research from a new publication called Stat. West Coast editor for Stat, Charles Pillar, joins us on our newsline. And we will then talk to Emma Roller from the New York Times. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Well, it's Christmas week, Bill. It's Christmas week, and we're all going to hit the road for the holidays. And so, of course, gas prices are going to go through the roof, right?
Exactly.
Wrong.
Not
wrong.
This year.
It is amazing. Gas Buddy has reported that the U.S. average retail price for gasoline is $1.99 per gallon. That is the first time that it's dropped below $2 per gallon in 6 years. That's how long it's been since we've seen the nationwide average under $2. Thanks, Obama. It hit at 4 p.m. on Saturday. It was $1.99 a gallon, according to the Gas Buddy organization. About a month ago, the national average was $2.11, and a year ago, it was $2.44. So a dramatic decrease in the price of gas.
And I heard somebody last night, or some newscaster last night, did that story and then said, that's good news. I said, it's not good news, actually. It is perversely not good news because people are just going to say, well, let's buy another.
Let's get another SUV.
Another
Absolutely.
Range Rover, right? Yeah.
You know, being single sucks. And according to Wallet Hub, one of the worst places to be.
No comment.
Right to you. And it especially sucks in Chicago, Illinois. Wallet Hub analyzed the country's 150 most populated cities and looked at 25 key metrics to find out where it sucks to be single. The factors that they used include the price of meals and movies, right? If you want to go out on a date, how much money you're going to have to spend, the number of singles in each gender, prices for a one-bedroom apartment, online dating opportunities, investment in beauty or personal upkeep, and the crime rate. So Chicago was the very bottom of the list because it's so expensive there to do all of this stuff. If you want to do well...
Plus you got the crime rate.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to do well, Salt Lake City is the best place to be if you're single. Other cities, if you want to go and be single and be successful, Orlando, Tempe, Arizona, Atlanta, Georgia, Scottsdale, Austin, Tampa, Reno, and Cincinnati.
I think Austin maybe is the only one that really stood out for me.
Yeah, you'll take your chances here?
Yeah, Salt Lake City, I won't be heading there anytime soon.
I think Salt Lake City would suck to be single.
That'd be tough to be single.
You know why, and I won't say it.
Hey, did you hear the Star Wars movie is out? Yeah,
No
Star
kidding.
Wars movie came out this weekend, and one church in Berlin, in Germany, took it very, very, very seriously. They had an entire church service that was themed in Star Wars. About 500 people showed up to the church, the Zion Church in Berlin. Some of the people were wearing Darth Vader masks. They were carrying lightsaber props. They said they know that everybody's talking about Star Wars, but they still want to get them into church. And so they figured they would combine the two things and see if they couldn't get some Star Wars fans to actually come into the church. The church's organ actually played the theme song.
It's the gospel of Chewbacca.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they really embraced it. So that's one way to get people, in, I guess.
Or you watch the Democratic debate instead.
There you go.
Whatever. Yeah. So let's put this in context here. Before we introduce our first guest, there is a new magazine out, a new publication, which reports on health and medicine. And as one of their first topics that they took on, they looked into medical research surrounding clinical trials and how well research institutions are doing as required by law, reporting their findings, both good and bad, to the National Institutes of Health. Charles Pillar is a West Coast editor of STAT, who joins us on our newsline early from the West Coast this morning. Hello, Charles. Good to talk to you.
Good morning.
Good morning out there. Are you in San Francisco? Is that it?
I'm actually in Oakland.
In Oakland. Okay. Yes, good. Great city also, right across the bay. So tell us, when you looked at, so first of all, let's back up. These research institutions, universities and others who get these grants from NIH, they do these clinical trials, then they're required by law to report, right, back to the NIH.
Yes, they are required, but not in all cases. There are many exceptions. So I would say that this law is actually pretty weak. It's a low bar. There's a very large number of studies that they do not have to report results on, but we looked at the ones that they do have to report results on.
Okay, so
law.
where they have to report and must report, what did you find?
Well, we found, somewhat to our surprise, that the leading academic institutions in the country, these are not the pharma companies for whom the law was really, in essence, designed. The law was designed for fear that pharma companies were withholding the results of drug trials for commercial reasons. So they wanted to make drugs maybe look a little bit better or a little less bad than what the public thought or what doctors thought. And there was a lot of concern about this, and so they enforced the law, or they wrote a law that would try to get at that issue. What we found was that no one did great, neither the pharma companies nor the academic institutions nor the nonprofit healthcare research agencies. But the ones that did the worst were actually some of the leading academic institutions in the country, including Stanford University, Memorial Sloan Kettering Research Center, and University of Pennsylvania, University of Pittsburgh, UC San Diego in California. All of these disclosed their research results late or not at all, 95% of the time since reporting became mandatory in 2008. So I think by any measure, that's a pretty atrocious record of following the law. And
wait. So 95? You're saying 95% of the time they did not comply, right?
That's right. They either didn't report at all, or they reported late, well after the deadline. Many times years late.
That's astounding. And these are institutions that all have great reputations. I mean, Stanford, UC San Diego. I saw some of those facilities down there earlier this year. University of Pennsylvania. I mean, these are not like fly-by-night operations, right?
No, and in fact, these are institutions, many of them, that are among the leading recipients of National Institutes of Health funding for their clinical research. So they're taking hundreds of millions of dollars of government money and then not producing for the public record these results. And that's pretty surprising, I think, even to some people who track human experimentation closely. Now, I think people need to remember clinical trials is a rather soft term what we're talking about are experiments with human beings, and I think people need to remember that.
Yeah, sure. No, very, very, very important. So, what is it? Are there any consequences to them of not reporting on time?
Well, in a word, no, not yet. So,
well, I'm sure there are consequences for the human beings, right? Who may have medical problems because of not finding out what was in this testing, but financial consequences for these academic institutions. No.
Well, there are law. The law is written so that the National Institutes of Health can withhold funding from organizations that they give money to who don't report results.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been enforced. And the Food and Drug Administration can fine drug companies up to $10,000 a day for failing to provide their results. That's never been enforced, even though FDA could have collected, in theory, $25 billion by now from drug companies for their late or not supplied results. So it's a big number, about 5 times the agency's annual budget.
Is that right? Yeah, I mean, that's astounding. Well, why wouldn't the NIH go after these academic institutions, particularly, and pharma?
Well, it's interesting.
Isn't there? Let me just let me ask the question better. Isn't there a public health consequence here, not just a financial one?
There is a large public health consequence, and let me put it in very concrete terms so that it's easy to understand with an example. So one of the things I did was to look carefully at a number of studies that were done for which results were either not provided at all or delayed a great time period. So it's one case that really jumped out at me. And in 2009, a nonprofit outfit called the Hoosier Cancer Research Network was studying a drug called Avastin, which is a cancer drug, in patients who had advanced breast cancer. And not only did this drug not help the patients, but it caused so much harm that they stopped the trial in midstream.
Oh.
Because it was causing people pain and other toxicity of various kinds. So what happens when a drug trial is stopped, particularly because it caused what is known as adverse events? They are obligated to report to clinicaltrials.gov, which is the government database operated by NIH, so that other doctors who are using this drug in these experimental ways, patients who are involved in clinical trials involving the drug, can have a sense of what the possible consequences are for the exposure to this drug. And that's why timely reporting is so important. So what these folks did is they didn't report. And they didn't report even though there was a controversy raging at the time about the efficacy and safety of this drug Avastin for breast cancer patients. So finally, they reported in 2013. Not only was the controversy over by then, the reason it was over is that FDA said you should never use Avastin in breast cancer. But for years, other researchers and patients didn't have the benefit of their knowledge of these toxic effects.
Wow.
So that's what I'm talking about. There are very real-life consequences to the failure to report.
Just explosive stuff, boy, I'm telling you. I mean, and again, $25 billion on the line, not to mention all the exposure of these people to drugs they shouldn't be using. A very, very important reporting out of STAT. And if you want to find out more about it, Charles, we're just out of time. We got to run along. But let's direct people to your website. It's STAT, S-T-A-T, statnews.com. Great work, Charles. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Boy, that's powerful stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Can you imagine? They get all this money. They have trials that fail. At least report, right? Yeah. I mean, it's not their fault if the drug's no good. Just report this drug stinks. Don't use it, right?
It's amazing that's going on.
Yeah. NIH better get on the dime here.
Yeah.
I'll bet you're going to see some legislation on this from Congress to fix this problem. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So we'll take another look at the political scene with Emma Roller from the New York Times at the half hour. President Obama ending his 2015 year of work year, at any rate, with a news conference at the White House, which I attended on Friday, mentioning, among other things, that he had just signed the omnibus spending bill passed overwhelmingly by Republicans and Democrats in Congress. And the president said, not perfect, but still had some good stuff.
I'm not wild about everything in it. I'm sure that's true for everybody, but it is a budget that, as I insisted, invests in our military and our middle class without ideological provisions that would have weakened Wall Street reform or rules on big polluters.
In the end, as Lauren French from Politico told us in the last hour, that bill passed with the active support and lobbying by, in the House, Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer for the Democrats, both Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell supporting it in the Senate, and in the House they ended up getting over 300 votes for it. The president also pointing out that he one big item, the remaining on his agenda for 2016, is criminal justice reform. In the meantime, he took another step in reducing sentences on Friday morning.
I still want to work with Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, to reform our criminal justice system. And earlier today, I commuted the sentences of 95 men and women who had served their debt to society.
Right. And then President Obama on to, well, first of all, the first thing before he left the White House, there was the screening of Star Wars, which doesn't show up in the $218 million because I'm sure that they got in for free. And then the President went off to San Bernardino visiting with the victims of the gun violence, families of the family members of the victims of the gun violence a couple of weeks ago there in San Bernardino. And then off to Hawaii, where he is already enjoying his vacation, already getting one round of golf in, a big dinner out last night, and a big hike in some nature preserve. And we'll come back and talk politics with Emma Roller from the New York Times.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
You got it. 33 minutes after the hour. Yes, indeed. The Bill Press Show. Here we go. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. As always, our nation's capital. Our studio right here on Capitol Hill, where we're keeping the lights on while everybody else is out of town. The president, the vice president, the Senate, the House. You can count on us. We'll be here at least through Wednesday. After that, you're on your own. And we're brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their international president, Leo Gerard, celebrating a great big victory, reaching an agreement with the U.S. Steel for a whole new contract protecting some 18,000 United Steel members of the United Steelworkers who work for U.S. Steel. So congratulations to them. Check out more about this new deal on their website, usw.org. I don't know where you were Saturday night, but about 6.7 million people were tuned into ABC News to watch the third Democratic presidential debate, which Bernie Sanders says was deliberately designed and scheduled for the Saturday night before Christmas to help Hillary Clinton and to hurt him and Martin O'Malley. Emma Rollo's been following all these issues for the New York Times. You now not only see her here on the Bill Press Show and hear her here and read her in the New York Times, but see her on the op-ed page of the New York Times. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Very proud. You're right up there with Tom Friedman and
Maureen
Dowd.
Well,
whoa, yeah, right. No pressure, Emma. Right.
But you're the hardest working man in show business, Bill. Like you said, everyone else is out of town, but
here we are. All week
kicking
long. Well, not all week long.
I know.
Half week long.
Half week long.
All right. So, what was your takeaway from Saturday night's debate? Any big winners, big losers, or?
Sure. Well, it seemed that the story of the Democratic National Committee data breach loomed large, at least at the beginning of the debate.
Yeah, it was bound to because it happened the day before. Bernie sues the DNC.
Right. They threatened to countersue. And I thought that it went off pretty much without a hitch for both of the campaigns. They both decided, at least on the surface level, both candidates decided to take the high road. Bernie said, "I'm sorry." Hillary Clinton said, "Let's move on." And then it seemed like Martin O'Malley had this sort of pre-rehearsed moment, like he was expecting them to get into it. And he followed up with like, can we please just stop all of this bickering? No one cares. And it just felt like the lady doth protest too much to me.
Yeah, right. But he was just trying to, he had to say something, right?
Right.
Maybe he didn't quite know what to say. So was the Sanders campaign correct? Did the DNC overreact?
That's an interesting question. So you mentioned the debate timing. That's emblematic of what the Sanders and O'Malley campaign have been saying for months.
I mean, scheduling a debate on the Saturday night before Christmas is insane.
It's pretty ridiculous and on its face. Also, the media filing center was on a hockey rink.
That's what I read, yes.
Yeah.
So they said, wear warm clothes.
Right.
Yeah,
they're on the ice.
Right. Way to encourage reporters to come cover your debate. You're going to be out on the hockey rink. So that was kind of ridiculous. And also the number of debates has come into question. And then the reaction of the DNC to this data breach, led some to say this isn't really helping the case that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is seen as this just unabashed Hillary backer.
Observer. Yeah, right. But I mentioned this when I came back from Minneapolis. I went to Minneapolis it's September, whenever it was. Peter, remind me. But at the DNC meeting, I think it was a summer DNC meeting, to watch Bernie, Jim Webb was still in then, Martin O'Malley, and Hillary Clinton speak to the members of the Democratic National Committee.
Right.
And it was clearly a Hillary love fest. I mean, all the DNC members were in the front of the auditorium because that's their meeting. And then there was room for members of the public to come in and observe. And they're in the back of the auditorium, right? So when Hillary was speaking, all the Democratic members, the DNC members, they were on their feet. They were, it was again,
really?
like a
they
cheerleading
were
section.
Applauding for her?
For her?
For Hillary Clinton? Or
the DNC members.
The DNC members?
Yeah.
Were?
Oh, are you kidding?
Oh.
Yeah. And when Bernie spoke, they were sitting on their hands just about, and all the people in the back of the room were going wild for Bernie, the members of the public. So it was.
That seems odd because the DNC has some pretty strict rules about not showing favor for one candidate or another.
Well, rules that apply to the leadership, but are not. But I think are broken too. But the members of the DNC can endorse candidates.
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah. In fact,
it's an awkward relationship.
Look at the
It's a
number
really
of
awkward
look at the number of super delegates who have declared they're DNC members, who have declared for Hillary already. No, I mean, the DNC is stacked for Hillary, no doubt about it. I think on that point, Bernie is absolutely
and
right.
yet you see Iowa seems to be tightening.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure how many points behind he is in Iowa, but not very many. And he's ahead.
The latest poll this morning I saw showed that basically it's a tie. Now,
A tie.
Iowa, and he's well ahead in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and he's been ahead in New Hampshire.
Right. Maybe if we can, Jamie, the Hillary Clinton made the most news out of the debate, the one that people have talked about today, were her taking on Donald Trump as being a friend of ISIS.
He is becoming ISIS's best recruiter. They are going to people showing videos of Donald Trump insulting Islam and Muslims in order to recruit more radical jihadists.
Yes, that's what she said. I think her point is right, that Donald Trump is certainly helping the jihadist cause and not necessarily our side. But the videos?
There has been no evidence of such a video existing, and Hillary Clinton's campaign has sort of fessed up to that.
Sort of like a oops.
Right. Almost like, I don't really want to compare these two moments, but when Carly Fiorina in the other debate mentioned the Planned Parenthood video that with like a baby kidding and all of that really gruesome stuff that turned out to not exist. Jennifer Palmieri is the communications director on the Clinton camp and went on with George Stephanopoulos yesterday, and he sort of pressed her on it, like, well, what is this video? And she kept saying Hillary Clinton wasn't referring to a specific video. So, in other words, but that Donald Trump has been invoked in social media from ISIS-linked accounts, but basically there's no evidence of a video.
I want to come back to the data breach for just a sec, because one other thing I wanted to ask you, I forgot earlier, is, okay, there's no doubt the firewall, the way this website is set up, right? Each candidate, all the information for those candidates is on that, is in that database. So the Clinton campaign, all their people are identified in there. They're donors, they're the people that door to door said they support her, and then Bernie has his database and Martin O'Malley has his database, and there's a firewall between supposed to be between the sites so that the Bernie people cannot see what the Hillary people have, and the Hillary people can't right? That is broken down. This is not the first time. It's broken down like 2 or 3 times in the past. So my question is, why doesn't the DNC just fire the company
vendor.
that they've got keeping this database, they're the ones that screwed up, not the Sanders campaign.
Right. So some other tech companies who obviously have a vested interest in this whole scandal have pointed out that this is the problem with having one vendor for all of the candidates in the primary. It's this company.
Good point.
It's this company called NGP Van.
NGP Van.
And there
Never heard
are
of them
all
before.
these sorts of companies in the modern electoral landscape that collect voter data and help campaigns sort of synthesize that. But there's been this big pushback. I'm actually talking to the CEO of this company, the vendor, later today. So I'm going to hopefully press him on that.
Okay, your first question, if I may.
Yes, please do.
To him should be, are you the same company that did the launch of the Obamacare website?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean,
What was that?
It reminded me of that. I forget the name of that company, but it reminded me of that. This is
Sure.
a total breakdown. So again, seems to me that the DNC should have said, this should never have happened. We're going to fire this company and hire a new company. Instead, they said, this should never have happened, right? We're going to cut off Bernie Sanders' access to his own data.
But is it the DNC that hires this vendor, or is it each candidate? It's through the DNC.
They work for the DNC, right?
Okay.
This is supposedly a service that the DNC provides for these candidates.
Gotcha.
So in the end, I think this thing backfired against the DNC. I think it further exposed them as being really have already tilted toward Hillary, not treating Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley fairly. Number one. Number two, I think it backfired in the sense that it just raised all this attention to Bernie Sanders and to Bernie's campaign. I mean, I think.
Right. And I think, there's been all of this sniping going on sort of behind the scenes between Clinton staffers and Sanders staffers about this and the DNC. But on the debate stage, they were all, very civil about it. And I think that's, I don't want to speak for all Americans, but I think that is going to be enough of an answer for people that Bernie said, I'm sorry.
Too. No, I think it's like Hillary's emails, right? I mean, move on. Yeah. And they both agreed to do this.
Yeah, the Hillary emails thing is sort of old news. I think this whole thing is even older news because I don't think anybody understands what the hell it is outside of people who cover it, right?
Right.
I mean, it's awfully inside
niche-y.
baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I thought the Sanders campaign responded quickly and strongly and skillfully to this. By they threatened to sue, and then they did sue, and then the DNC collapsed. So on and so forth. Fun to watch with Emma Roller here from the New York Times. Do you think the DNC was really out to get Bernie? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self. I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading.
For my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
This is why you took a second job.
while you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing, while you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
He's not running for president, but he will shake hands and kiss babies. It's the Bill Press Show, your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election.
All right, 12 minutes before the hour here with Emma Rollo from the New York Times. Well, Emma, we think the maybe a little bit of tension between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, between their campaigns at least, over this data breach was serious. That's nothing compared to what we've seen between Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio.
Oh, yeah.
These two don't like each other, right?
Well,
Both Cubans, both from, right? Both 44, both Latino.
Yeah,
I mean,
it kind of struck me
both freshman senators.
Watching the Saturday night debate is like, I don't know, the Democratic debates are sort of like a kiddie sparkler show, whereas the GOP debates are like huge, bombastic fireworks displays in terms of politics.
Oh, yeah, really calling each other names and everything.
Yeah, and putting Donald Trump aside, which I'm holding out hope that he's not going to be the nominee because I just don't think that the RNC is going to let that happen. I find the most interesting dynamic on the right between Rubio and Cruz. Like you said, they have very similar biographies, both sort of up by the bootstraps, sons of Cuban immigrants. Both had really meteoric rises to the Senate, playing off the Tea Party wave in 2010, and Cruz was elected in 2012. But as we saw at the last GOP debate, they really sparred over national security and over immigration, and they have continued to just hit each other on that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every day it's like almost, I mean, Rubio's not talking about anything other than attacking Cruz, saying that he is pro-amnesty, right?
Right.
And Cruz pointing out that it was Marco Rubio who was one of the authors, which he was, of the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill.
Mm-hmm.
He calls the Rubio-Schumer bill, right?
It almost.
It really gets ugly and personal too. I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cruz essentially called Rubio a liar on the debate stage multiple times. He said, "Well, Marco knows he's not telling the truth," which is like a civil way of saying you're a liar. But you know, this sort of reminds me almost of the DNC data breach story. It's a similar, like, wonky story with immigration. I mean, with the Gang of Eight bill. The way that Rubio's tried to brand Cruz as pro-amnesty is because Cruz introduced this amendment, which he now says was a poison pill amendment.
Which Schumer also says was an attempt to kill the bill.
Right.
It was a kind of only people like you and me, maybe, and even us, would have a hard time. But this is sort of a classic inside baseball way to kill a bill by loving it to death, maybe.
Exactly,
right?
Or bear hugging it in Cruz parlance. Mm-hmm. But yeah, exactly. It's the sort of thing that it seems like Rubio's campaign has been trying to use to its benefit because the average person who isn't like totally clued into politics and the wonkiness wouldn't it makes no rational sense to introduce an amendment that seemingly supports what you're trying to do, but you're actually trying to kill it. That's weird, and it's just one of the weird things about Washington.
But it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens, and but you know, not to take sides in this story, but you mentioned earlier that Cruz accuses Rubio of making stuff up. I think Rubio does make stuff up.
Oh, yeah? About what?
Well, he has in other positions that he has, Peter.
Well, he's definitely backpedaled on immigration, and now he's trying to basically toe the middle line.
But he said something like the majority of people on the one list, right, were
the no-fly list. This was the thing of the no-fly list
yeah.
and the people getting guns on the no-fly list.
The majority of the people on the no-fly list did not belong on the no-fly list. He just made that up. He didn't know that's the case, right? He made stuff up about gun violence too. He throws out these flat statements and statistics and stuff, and has never been able to back them up. And I think that can come back to bite him in the butt, at some point when people do their fact checking.
Yeah, right. It seems like,
but
Donald
clearly
Trump,
they both see that their vision is Trump is not at some point Trump's going to drop out or fail or fall, whatever, and somebody's got to have to step up, and right now it's going to be one of the two of them, right? And so they are mano a mano to make sure that they're the ones standing when Trump falls.
Well, this is quick phrase from the New York Times, Emma, a story on Ted Cruz. Mr. Cruz pledged to oppose legal status for undocumented immigrants today, tomorrow, and forever, which those of us from the South remember that those words came from George Wallace's mouth about black people. So it's getting very, very serious over this one issue.
And I have to say, if Marco Rubio believes that he's going to be able to paint Ted Cruz as anything other than an extremist conservative, I think that's a failure. I mean, Ted Cruz is, like it or not, for real, as far right as you can get.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a true believer, too, I think.
Absolutely. And with that, Merry Christmas, Happy
Merry
Holidays.
Christmas.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you early in 2016.
All right.
And I'll be back with Party Shop.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
See, and here's what I said. One, this is the third or fourth time that the DNC's firewall has broken down, so the DNC ought to fire its online vendor. They're the ones who screwed up, not the Sanders campaign. Number two, there's no doubt the DNC is a front operation for the Clinton campaign. Just look at the number of DNC superdelegates who have already endorsed Hillary. And three, the timing of this attack, I believe, is very suspicious. It came just one day after Bernie had received the endorsement of the Communication Workers of America and Democracy for America, and of course one day before the next Democratic debate. I'm glad this mess is finally resolved, but here's my final word. In a Democratic primary, the party chair has to bend over backwards to be fair to all candidates. Obviously, when it comes to Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has not yet learned that lesson. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Arthur Delaney and Igor Volsky and Keith Mestrich, Paul Brandis, all with us tomorrow. So you got to come back
This
too. We'll
is
be
the
looking for
Bill
you.
Press Show.